Veterans Affairs Committee released this memo, and it details these disturbing new allegations against Dr. Ronny Jackson. For instance, they include that he was loosely dispensing painkillers like Percocet, drinking on the job, they say, which even led to a car accident, and leading to and also encouraging a toxic work environment. So joining us now is Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown. He's of Ohio, and he serves on the Veterans Affairs Committee. Good morning, Senator.
Thanks, Allison. Good to see you again.
Great to have you. So can you explain why the Democrats on your committee are releasing this list of allegations? We just outlined some of them, before actually confirming whether these were true of Dr. Ronny Jackson.
Well, what we've heard from very credible people, 23 of them and counting, people who served with him, and these are mostly underlings. I mean, I hear the White House say, you know, well, we've heard good reports from him. That's from his equals and his higher ups, and he has good relationships with them. But these are 23 people who serve this country in uniform. Some still are some are active duty, some are veterans. They have spoken out. The stories are corroborated over and over again. We hear the same stories in different situations from different people. But what's lost sight of here, I think, Allison, is the VA is in turmoil. They're leaderless. It started because the president fired the former VA director because he was supporting veterans and veterans groups in opposition to the privatization of the VA, and that was self-inflicted turmoil by the White House, and they don't have a backup plan. Well, when is the White House going to put a real leader there who can do this job? This has always been, I found out recently there's never been no senator has ever cast a no vote on a Secretary of the VA nomination confirmation. And this has always been bipartisan until now. I mean, clearly, David Gregory, I was watching a few minutes ago, and Gregory pretty much said the White House, the president likes this guy. He flattered the president. The president likes his personality. Nobody in the White House can stop the president when he wants to move on somebody, and nobody asks him any questions. And these 23 people, probably none of them were called by the veterans at the White House or the FBI. What does that tell you? It's the president wanted him, and let's move on him quickly. Yeah,
well, I hear you about the White House vetting being inadequate, but the FBI should have unearthed some of this stuff. I mean, that's the question, which is, the White House says these are false allegations, okay? So just in terms of the process of your committee, the White House says these are false allegations, and we just heard Dr. Ronny Jackson say, no, I never crashed the car. That seems like something that you would be able to confirm definitively if there was some car repair, you know, that was needed when he was on the job. And, you know, I mean, the only reason I ask is because should you allow the hearing to go forward where you pose these questions to him directly and let him answer them?
Well, of course. No, we're not stopping here. I mean, the chairman of the committee. Well, Johnny Isakson's the chair of the committee. He makes the decision with Senator Tester, the ranking Democrat, but Isaacson's the chair. Johnny makes the decision. Johnny's concerned enough, obviously, as Senate Republicans that I talked to in the Veterans Committee, and I've talked to at least 3 about it so far, they're all concerned about what's going on, so that's why they delayed it. They wouldn't have delayed it if they thought these charges were empty. But it's clear that, I mean, veterans have not come first in this whole process, and that's what's disturbing. And I wish the White House would have a backup plan, because it's pretty clear Admiral Jackson's nomination's in at least some trouble, and the White House should be thinking, whom do we want to select to be the head of the VA? They had a VA that was running relatively well. Veterans groups were happy with Shulkin. Individual veterans I think millions were generally happy with Shulkin. They fired him because they didn't like his politics. And now look what they've done. And I just want to fix this.
Do you think that Ronny Jackson is going to survive this day, that his nomination will survive?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about this day. I guess there's always a path forward. I don't know. I think that this is serious. I mean, there are the VA serves 9 million veterans every year in places like the community-based outpatient clinics in Mansfield and Lyman, Zanesville, and the hospitals in Cleveland and Chillicothe. And people that work at the VA, people that are going to be recruited by the VA to work there, patients, there's an anxiety out there because of the politics played by the White House that Johnny Isakson and John Tester and I and others are trying to sort out. And I don't mind doing this job. This is as important a vote as I'll cast in the next few weeks, who the new Secretary of the VA is. But don't do it this way and put this whole operation in turmoil because the White House, because President Trump liked Admiral Jackson in his medical relationship. Well, good, but check him out through the FBI, check him out through the vetting process, call people who used to work for him, not just people that were his peers or above him, because he clearly treats his peers and those above him very well. How does he treat the people under him? And we've seen that game. I see that in the Senate with plenty of people.
All right, let's move on to Mick Mulvaney, who, of course, is the interim director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So he had a meeting in front of the Bankers Association on Tuesday, and he said some eyebrow-raising things. Let me read a portion of his statements to them. He told them, "We had a hierarchy in my office in Congress. If you're a lobbyist who never gave us money, I didn't talk to you. If you're a lobbyist who gave us money, I might talk to you." That got your attention. You have called for him to resign over that. So why? Why is that offense worth losing his job?
I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if what he said he did in the House of Representatives, I think it's a violation of the ethics rules. I don't know if that's a violation of federal law or not. I won't, but I want to step back and look at the big picture. Here's the head of the underlying Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You're there to represent consumers. They've saved $12 billion for 29 million American consumers dealing with the American banking system. Start with that. He is to represent them. He has called this place, that bureau, a joke when he was in Congress. So he goes in front of 1,300 bankers and he says, "You should lobby me and the Congress to weaken this bureau and more or less try to put it out of business. If you have to give campaign money, do it." I mean, step back and look at the big picture. Not just was he sort of borderline bribery in the House, but he's going in front of 1,300 bankers. His agenda is, you bankers, most powerful people in the country, lobby me, lobby Congress to weaken this Consumer Bureau, to strike the word consumer out of the Consumer Bureau fundamentally. That's what's so troubling, that a leading official in the Trump administration would go to banks and say, stop the consumer agency from representing consumers. That's as bad as it gets.
So what do you want to see happen?
Well, I want to see, number one, him resign from both those jobs he holds. It's curious about the two jobs. Put that aside. I want to see the president nominate somebody who consumer groups and financial service industry can agree on, that we can see a strong bipartisan vote out of Congress to do this job.
But just to be clear, you also want him to resign as director of the Office of Management and Budget?
Well, yeah, I'm circulating a letter that close to half the members of the Senate, I assume, will sign by the time it's out in a couple of days, demanding of Mr. Mulvaney that he release his schedule, both at the Office of Management and Budget and at the Consumer Bureau, release his schedule, because considering those comments, we want to know whom he's meeting with. Is he meeting with payday lenders all day long? Is he meeting with bankers that have an agenda to eliminate the Consumer Bureau, which he is charged taking the oath to represent? And I want to know his schedule that way, but he really should step aside. When you make those kinds of comments and you're trying to represent a president who said drain the swamp, and you go to 1,300 bankers and say, lobbyists, weaken the Consumer Bureau, you really should leave both jobs.
Senator Sherrod Brown, thank you very much for being on.